I'm just wanting people to see it.
It's all good, man. All right, we're live, and so welcome everyone to tonight's show. It's happy birthday, Christopher Johnson, and so before we begin, I think we all just need to, wherever we are remotely, I think we all just need to acknowledge happy birthday, Christopher Johnson. We hope you
Thank you
had.
very much. I appreciate that.
Hope you had a great birthday, sir. We're a couple minutes past 7 tonight because we got into talking about um, the situation that we all find ourselves in and change and all of that kind of thing. I think birthdays are certainly a nice marker of change in our lives. So thank you for spending it with us tonight, and going to be sharing some of your beautiful poetry. We appreciate that.
Hold on, hold on. All right, I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. It's
My
okay.
daughter, my
Yeah.
daughter's walking in and walking through. This is
Oh,
the
it's all
living
good.
room. She's walking through, but we're
uh,
good.
it's part of the. That's the beauty of the live streaming from our bedrooms and living rooms right
Live
now.
streaming and living at home during this time of quarantine with your kids.
That's how it works. Um, Cameras and computers getting knocked over by cats and dogs and all that fun stuff. And it seem you got your quarantine supplies in front of you too, so you're good to go.
I got my face mask. The Joan Weird made me some face masks. If you don't have face masks, make sure you get some because it's now against the law to walk out and go into these stores and public places without a face mask.
Yes, it is. That is true. Up here in Massachusetts too, it started today. If you go out, you got to have a face mask on. It's true.
Well,
Um,
I do want to make a statement that our mayor has said that we should be shaming people publicly for not wearing face masks.
I saw
And
that.
then the flip side of the coin is you have people with breathing disorders and asthma and things of that nature. Who once you put this on, after like 2 3 minutes with this, then they get asphyxiated or whatever.
Right.
I'm not down with the shaming. I
Right.
mind my own business. I do what I'm
Yeah.
supposed to do.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, and I would like it if everybody I promote being safe. I'm just not down with the shaming.
Yes, I think we got enough shaming and
Okay.
bullying going on in our lives right now. So let's see.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So thank you to just a quick shout out. Thank you to Go Local Prov, who has been streaming this stuff and helping us promote these events right now. Thank you for tuning in tonight, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or our Vimeo channels. Thank you for supporting the Wilbury Group and the wonderful artists that are joining us. You can see a little link below me if you want to support the Wilbury Theater Group and the artists here that are streaming with us. The wilburygroup.org/support, and feel free to drop a donation there. And without further ado, I think I'm gonna stop yapping and I'm gonna send it over to Christopher to hear his beautiful poetry tonight. So go ahead, take it away, sir.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. As promised, I will try to keep this down to 30 minutes, maybe 29, maybe 27. But before we start, a couple of things that I wanted to mention, I wanted to put out there. One, yes, the COVID-19 is real. For everybody that doesn't believe it's real, it is real. People are dying. I've lost a couple of people. Things are going on. So please, it's not about if you feel fine. You could be a carrier and give it to someone who can give it to somebody who can die. So just think about that. That you don't want to kill, your neighbor's grandmother. So that I want to say that the COVID is real. So we should take this seriously. The other thing is, so I've been doing this for about 25 years. So I wanted to do some poems from in the beginning when I first started, and then try to move us through into the most recent poem that I just wrote a little while ago. And the funny part about all of that is I was going through my poetry looking for something to perform and trying to keep it light and happy because I want to keep everybody light and happy. And I realized all of my light and happy poems are about my daughter. so I'm not trying to. I'm just gonna be forewarned that until we get to that back end, it's going to be a little political. It's going to be a little whatever. So, but in the beginning, when I first started doing poetry, there was this thing called slam. And when I first started doing poetry, my vision was to legitimize hip hop, the rap world with the poetry. And so I was writing in a style that was more hip hop than actual poetry. And I wanted to give you two examples of that tonight. But I want to talk about slam. What had happened was slam came out, and I didn't get wind of slams until about 95, 96. Slam came out, and in New York, the poetry slams were $200 and $300 and $500. And I was against putting my words out there to compete until I found out about I can pay my rent competing. And that's when I changed my whole perspective about competing. But I wanted to show you what that was like. So the first poem I want to do is one that I got really popular for, and it's called I Could Slam. I could slam, but why should I when I played tops with God using comets as caps, ice as weights held in place, using outer space as wax. I could slam, but I'd never express my discourse to being a foundating force supporting the system I surpassed when I was solar gas, casting shadows in melanin. Currently, currency considers me felon for having rhythm, making stars dance, disrupting the gravity, sustaining worlds that orbit around the darkness of cosmic order because it's all about the almighty dollar, right? I could slam, but I'd rather, oh, give me a second, I'm so sorry. I just rehearsed this. When I was solar gas, casting shadows in melanin. Currently currency considers me for having rhythm, making stars dance, disrupting the gravity, sustaining worlds that orbit around the almighty, orbit around the darkness of cosmic order because it's all about the almighty dollar, right? I can slam, but why should I when I spot third eyes that lead the blind to a pastime and genocide, then commit suicide? Then after all of the slam poets die, only the real poets survive. I can slam, but what would it be for when half the poets that's been here before me, been here before eternity, and half the poets before me drop God, knowledge, comedics 101, and their own personal history in their poetry, and half of them talk about mistreatment of women, and half of them talk about sexual positions. I bet half of them don't know half about half the stuff they spitting, and when given half a chance with one of you ladies, what they say they could do in a slam poem that lasts about 3 minutes, you'll find they can't go half the distance. Not even a minute, 29 seconds before they're finished. See, I add the mathematics and find that we're not a fraction of what we claim to be when the measurement of a poet is the sum total of his intentions as well as his deeds. But being that you can't see what a poet does once they leave the stage, slamming has become fantasy like porn flicks and a married couple sexual escapades. Unless we're coming from the heart when we do this, we're just cheating on our lives. And reciting poetry is just another way to get laid. I can slam, but why should I when the problems of the world weigh so heavy on my mind, my own two legs can't stand the stuff I have to say. I can slam, but what would be the point anyway? Because when I step into the stage and hit the microphone, the majority is only concerned that I leave them just entertained. So you can see where there was a mixture of hip hop, but I'm still speaking it like a poem. And so then to further show you that mixture of hip hop, the marriage between hip hop and poetry, is another piece that I did. This piece I actually did for the Million Mile March, not in the DC, but in Trenton when that year that we were doing the Million Mile March. I was living in Trenton, New Jersey, and I did it then. How you like me now? I go blind with this step moves crowds making every ghetto foul. I might have took your first child, scarred your life, crippled your style. I gave you power. I made you buck wild. Fill me up and I'm ready. Fill me up and I'm ready with misogynistic intent. My purpose is clear. I represent like that big white phallus you call the Washington Monument. But it's right by the amendments to bear arms. I bear arms like chained slaves with mentally engraved idols carried like crosses in the form of gold automatic rifles. I hide under the title of survival, so when brothers become rivals, the war remains tribal until tributes are given in 777 shots in a war zone called inner city blocks where I become the wizard giving heart to empty statements trying to speak, only expressing they scared to shoot the fair one, whether physically or mentally. Fill me up and I'm ready because terminology used daily deadens minds to my malicious intent. I am just like you. I only use this language I did not invent. I plant seeds like slang who used to go ballistic, but blossom into a rose of violence who brings the heat to broken English. Even currency thinks he's better than me. Jive turkey. When the price is your money or your life, the exchange only purchases the memory of a robbery. Take me seriously because I have disciples that number the amount of people who take the entertainment portion of a culture literally are representing who? Me? My whole mission is to wipe those Negroes out. Even when I'm in rap videos, you can see, no doubt, right or wrong, only Black people die in rap songs. So if you want to continue to plan to continue my reign, let me run this by you one more again. I bear arms like chained slaves who give toys in my image to children to play gangster games. They cop from mom and pops to robbers' power. It's innocence taken by theft. Imagination gets wasted on creative death until I become the object obsessed and make myself for real. No play. I've been taking Black lives since slavery, and I'm savior to the home grade. And I act a fool as an educational tool in suburban white schools and devastated the indigenous people of the land labeled as Indians and caught 2 bodies while chilling up in the Capitol building. Now, you know it's me you got to be feeling, because that's where you made me free by your amendments. And you people in this country can't see what I'm doing to the rest of the world with religion. Muslim against Jew, Catholic against Protestant. How you like me now? I go blah, which that moves crowds, making every ghetto foul. I might have took your first child, scarred your life, crippled your style. I gave you power. I made you buck wild. So as you can see, I always find it a shame that people say that when poems are still valid, that it's classic. But in a situation like that, that line I was just telling my daughter, I act a fool as an educational tool in suburban white schools. I wrote that line over 20 years ago, and it's still valid. So I really feel like it's a shame that we're still holding on to these Second Amendment rights. And I'm not against guns. I just think we need tighter gun laws. So anyway, I started winning slams with that style of poetry in New York and paying my bills. And it got me to nationals. And when I got to nationals, the nationals is where you have poets from all over the country. Sometimes places like France and England and Ireland send slam teams to compete to see who's the best in the country in the National Poetry Slam. And when I got there, I was exposed to so many different types of poets. It was the first time I saw Black men do poems that were not about revolutionary topics and not about being oppressed. It was the first time I seen white people do poems that were about driving a Mustang through cornfields and with the top down, letting their hair fly out, and things of that nature. And I was so impressed that I stayed in the slam world for a while. And what ended up happening is I wrote this poem, and I dedicated it to my friends who are poets. Every time, it's the same. Eyes closed, chin and chest, raised head, inhale, exhale, guts. This is unnatural. Exposing the organs that make up my orchestra to strangers. It's so unnatural that I cry ugly. And from these cries, lessons are birthed. So much time is spent tearing down walls I don't want to be between. When the doors open, fear makes walking out impossible. In those times, you have to replace demons with roses. So when they return, they're homeless. My thoughts piggyback a baby girl while shouldering another, while wading naked through piranha-filled pools. Wincing, not allowed. Pain is a part of it. Black men cannot white knuckle frustration. Black absorbs. Owning a dream is seeing past a 5 for $3 cans of kidney beans and 89-cent bags of rice. Looking at jumbled notes on toilet tissue, old newspaper bags, and witnessing a poem. Hustling a living from computer copies of CDs on subways and chat books at open mics at 5 a.m. Preparing lesson plans for 8, teaching till 4, hosting a show at 9, saying forget the time because words hurt so much, you need an audience's hug. This square circle gives high school nerds voice and reformed thugs choices and fathers separated from children outlets. It gives MCs a place to rock when the music stops and lines for women to air misogynist laundry and hip hop. It's where cops tell kids why not grow up to be like them. Where suicidal thoughts stop and healing begins. It's freeing, like 9-year-old handstands and daddy look, shouts from daughters. It's not supposed to be easy, screaming poem after poem to lonely rivers in the dark, because the woman you love wants more than art, and your living space reflects the mess you made of your life. It's unnatural, taking tears that cry so ugly and sounding them beautiful. Slam's fallacy is a drunken reality. Competing for a score intoxicates the philosophy of being heard. It's more of a fight to walk away from a stiff drink than to win a battle of poems with words. I tell my students, don't want to become an artist. Art is no joke. You have to live like this, you have to be insane. You never know when the past runs up, potato sack, blindside, Shanghai's you, hoping for a favorable outcome, the only option. You can have all the tools, the proper syntax and metaphors, the spoonerisms and intricate rhyme schemes that weave rainbows into kaleidoscopes, but it's dreams that kerosene sparks in hearts that ignites the stage, that makes me step behind the mic, eyes closed, chin and chest, raise head and deliver $1 million babies. Every now and then I stare at the sun, attempting to let a little light inside, because a playwright's notepad will make you laugh, but a poet's journal is suicide. I sometimes find myself swinging at the wind, hoping to hit a wall, throwing uppercuts and jabs at imaginary enemies, tiring myself out until I fall back, feeling the glass ceiling inching closer, hoping to see reflection or fog of breath, proving after life has taken my all, there's still some part of me left. Every time, it's the same. Eyes closed, chin and chest, raised head until finally I open my mouth, bloody and mucus covered. Something beautiful comes out. So that was a poem, $1 Million Baby. And people ask me, how do I come up with these things? I actually, for that poem, just so that I can tell you a secret about that poem, I actually went through the poem, the movie $1 Million Baby, Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman. I took all of the internal monologue that Morgan Freeman had about boxing, and I flipped it to poetry. And I took all of my experiences from every national poetry slam where I was seeing these poets. Everything that I was saying about poets and that was true. It was something that I heard a poet say, something I seen a poet do, something that I did myself to make that poem happen. So that was the process for that poem. So after that happened, I literally tried to stay away from political pieces for a very long time. And until it always happens that you can't stay away from political pieces anymore, because I'm a Black man in America. Racism exists. There are people who say that racism doesn't exist. There are people who say racist things and don't know that they're saying racist things. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten into, I'm colorblind. I don't care if you're purple, brown, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, but now you are denying my experience. You're denying my existence. You're denying, you might be colorblind, but that cop over there is not. So when you drive by and that cop pulls me over and you just keep driving by, I might be the headlines in the news tomorrow. Anyway, so I wrote this piece, and I can't remember why. It was probably the 19th, 20th, 2003 young Black boy that died by cop. We were right before the election. We were banning people from coming into the country, Syrians. I'm just gonna do, and then a lot of the people who I know who claim to not be racist, who claim to be good people, also go to church on Sunday and claim to love Jesus Christ and be Christians. And I found the irony too strong not to write, and I wrote this piece. What if Jesus is coming back, coming to America as a Syrian refugee? What if Christians denied the second coming of Christ? Terrorist and left the Trump wall. What if Jesus already came back, but changed his name to Michael Brown, Laquan McDonald, or any other Black person that died by cop? What if Jesus was spat upon and was taunted for carrying the Black Lives Matter cross? And the crowd jeers crucify him for blocking up highways and marching the state capitals. And the crowd jeers crucify him because blue uniformed Pharisees said Jesus was a part of a plot to kill cops, when all he wanted was for cops to stop systematically killing people who look like Jesus, murdered by people who call themselves Christian. What if Jesus keeps coming back and keeps getting crucified? What if God said, I so love the world, I've sacrificed my son 1,000 times. Jesus, no more. What if Jesus said, no more? So, yeah, that was a poem. And the funny part about that poem is last time I was at the Lizard Lounge, I was in this heated poetry slam. And everybody always believes that you have to do like a 3-minute poem to win. Like if you do anything less than like 2 minutes, then you're not going to win. That poem was 45 seconds, and I got like a 29.7. The highest score you can get is a 30. And everybody was like, "How did you win the round with a 45-second poem?" And I was like, "Because it was real, pretty much." So real quick, when I was going through my poems, if you've been following me on my Facebook and on my Instagram, it was hard. I've been doing poems and putting them out for people. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing poems tonight and giving you a display of my work that was not in my Instagram and not in my Facebook. So I want to give you this poem because I don't believe it's anywhere online yet. I can almost be jealous of women because men suck. Gateway drugs of concrete redwood strutting cowboys in ghettos. Since birth, we are pit bull samurais. Hemingway mojito whiskey sours. We reach in the dark for the nothingness we are taught to feel. We don't cry. Been first step trained to 100 proof burn. Age 8, bonding is natural as boys. 12, taught to no longer kiss. Our fathers taught handshakes and as close as we are to come, unless our team gloriously suppresses an opposing team, and conquest taught the opposite sex is an opposing team in pursuit of conquest of our balls. Taught romance is a game. The goal is to touch down and home, then run. But no matter the sexuality, race, or religion, women, stars shine vertebrae of nighttime, jellyfish, sky. Whenever life lunar eclipse tomorrows and hearts race, brush fire fast towards insecurities, there's always someone to talk to, a hand reaching through the dark, a set of arms to fall into without judgment, because women are love, deep kisses, velveteen touch moonlight, East Coast August ocean warm insides, and California sunset gazes. Women spout wisdom, say, toss me against the oak tree. You find the knowledge of my words infantile compared to the instructions in my silence. Say I've not seen as many seasons as a mountain. My only hope is to remain as unchanged, although being weathered through time. Women, concrete bones, glass hearts, orchid soft skin, Sunday morning redemption service between bed sheets. I bear witness. Every time a woman has given me the gift of her, I give back the best I have to offer. So at least the disaster of our meeting is natural as earthquakes, flashes of sky flood, kisses that thunder cloud roll, entangled bodies over the horizon. I've heard to obtain something you have never had, you must do something you have never done. Woman, for you, I wrote this poem sober, abandoning blood-tooth brotherhood of alpha wolf pack insecurities, of empty whiskey bottles, camouflage, and real men aren't supposed to cry tears. For you, I am rose petal bathwater, foot massage, candlelight, and handcuffs. Heavy rain plopping over rooftops, cascading over backseat steamed up windows. A 2-syllable complete sentence followed by a cry for your savior, squeezed in a razor silent breath. While our hips crying, you are mother, sister, cousin, auntie, homie, lover, friend. I can almost be jealous of women, but I love them. So I got 3 more poems, and then I'm done. So in 2005, if you've seen my TED Talk, you've heard this poem, but it doesn't matter. And welcome to my TED Talk. But if you in 2005 or 2007, between that time, I can't remember what it was, I was touring the country because I won an international contest off of my poetry. Imagine that. I started doing slam poetry because I needed to pay bills, and then it turns out I ended up winning an international poetry contest, which I guess that's the progression of how it goes. So anyway, and I would have my daughters. I have two daughters. My oldest daughter is an adult, so you probably haven't seen her around. But if you knew me back then, anywhere I was in the city, they were with me. When I lived at age 20, they lived with me. I shouldn't say that out loud, but they did. So anyway, I would come home and they would, I would be wiped out, tired, and I'd just be sitting on the couch. I had two couches, one across from the other, and they would sit and play with each other, and then they'd be yelling and fighting, and then I'd be like, y'all cut it out, y'all stop fighting. And then because they were sisters, they start laughing at me. Like I was the joke. Dad was the joke. Look at Dad. He's yelling. He's funny. Look at his face. So I missed them. I missed that. I missed that time. So what I would do is I would write their words and incorporate their sentences, their words, their stories, their little jokes in my poems. And I would take them back out on tour with me, and I would do these works and memorize them, and I would have their words with me. So when I ended touring, because I was tired of touring, I ended it at age 20, and I brought my two daughters with me, and they were sitting in the front row. And after the first poem, both of them are looking at me like, I don't know if y'all can see my face. Let me see if you can see my face. And now, mind you, without the beard, I look just like my youngest daughter. So they were like, and I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just going to keep doing the performance. After the second poem, my oldest daughter gets up and she walks out. At the end of my set, I walk over to my youngest daughter. I say, Asha, are you okay? And she says, Daddy, you owe me money. I'm like, what do you mean I owe you money? She says, and mind you, she was probably third or fourth grade. She was young. She says, Daddy, you owe me money because everything you did on stage was a conversation between me and my sister, and that's plagiarism. You owe me money. And so I turned around and I said, I'm not giving you any money. But what I did was I wrote a poem for her, and for 2 years after I wrote that poem, that was her poem. I couldn't say it on stage. I couldn't say it to anybody. It was her poem. But before we do that, I want to tell you the poem that I wrote, that I stole all of their words and put this in this poem. And so this is the poem that I stole from them. And mind you, when I wrote this poem, it was before I read the book, The Secret. So it was kind of funny how it was like the children actually knew this information before I read the book, The Secret. And then when I read it, I was like, wow. So anyway, here's the poem that I stole their words. What if I told you all you had to do in life is concentrate more on what you want and less of what you don't want? Change your thinking to change your reality. What if every time you thought about the worst case scenario, you switch? Think about the best possible situation. What if all you knew was torn down in a second? Home have become Rwanda. Your husband and every child you conceive are turned into Hutus and Tutsis, where scream like machetes had cherished moments into tears. Would you run to the bottom, ball up in a corner, or rebuild? What if one day you woke up, groggily dragged yourself to the bathroom, prepared your toothbrush for the teeth cleaning, looked in the mirror and saw God before you? Your 4-year-old daughter's Dora the Explorer, battery-operated toothbrush in mouth, spit and toothpaste slobbering down chin, eyes full of sleepy, hair looking like crazy wild monkeys hanging from the rafters is God. What would you say to God at that moment? And what would you say back to God before God stops you for uttering an excuse for being unprepared to meet your maker and says, I am not satisfied with your life. I am not satisfied with your life because you are not satisfied with your life. And I don't create mistakes unless I need a good laugh. You, my friend, are not funny. What if the mirror told you that you are the cause and effect of everything that happens, that you are the sun? Moments, mere little worlds of possibilities you pull into your solar system with the gravity of thought. That when you concentrate on what you don't want, you pull it into orbit with all that you do. And eventually those worlds will collide. What if I told you that every moment spent complaining and wishing things was different is a moment wasted in your life, which is so precious, like looking down the barrel of a gun makes you type out a prayer in your mental computer, hoping to press send to God mark urgent before the bullet explodes, sending all that you know into the space behind you. Why waste this time complaining about things you want to change? Change them or move on. Tomorrow is a small child wanting to give you everything you ever wanted in life, and all it wants in return is a hug. Embrace it, welcoming every moment. So that was the poem where I stole the words and put it into the poems, and Asha wanted money. And so here's the poem that I gave her back in return. Let me take you where the wild things are. Together we'll discover where the sidewalk ends, while singing silly mnemonic songs reminding us of places we can only imagine going, like Mrs. Venus eats messy jelly sandwiches using 9 plastic spoons. At the end of our journey, we'll sit under the giving tree, talk about Amelia Bedelia, Alex's very bad day, and Harold's purple crayon. We'll have stone soup for lunch, on top of spaghetti all covered with cheese, until the ants go marching one by one. I want to keep you at a time when all the world is a rainbow, where New York towers and London bridges never fall down. Yet happy you know it so much. The clapping of hands, the stomping of feet resonates as earthquakes in China, proving it's a small world after all. When your secret garden is the size of a jungle book, you realize the twinkle, twinkle of every star is not in the wondering how far up in the sky, but the greatness we see behind each other's eyes. And when that happens, little boys will never worry about being the only Bob black sheep in the room. And little girls will never worry about old MacDonald having anything but a smile. I once heard a kid say, there are 2 types of humans, children and people. See, children are like letters of the alphabet. All of the children can get along because all could be sung to the tune of the same song, and bam, there was a light in the attic. As I said to myself, somewhere in the aging process, our innocence becomes lost boys following Peter Pan. What a wonderful world if we never grew up, if we always remained little engines that could create our own wonderlands. What if we never became precocious grown-ups from our heads, shoulders, knees, and toes? And like the letters of the alphabet, the more we get together, the happier we will be. So come with me. Let me take you where the wild things are. Together we'll sing a rainbow, over in the meadow, way out west in Kansas. So believe it, that was the poem that I wrote for her, that I couldn't say to anybody for 2 years. And she liked it. So now I'm gonna end it with my last poem, and it's the last poem that I wrote. If you follow me on Facebook, you read it. I do want to thank you for hanging in. I know that it was a rocky start in the beginning, but you have to realize those poems that I was doing in the beginning, I haven't said those poems in like 25 years. So that's why it was a little rocky. I memorized them. I put them back in my body. I had them perfect for you, but you know, I haven't said those poems in 25 years. And so it was a little rocky, and I, you know, not apologizing, I'm human. That's what we do. As my mentor used to say, if you want to put I can't say that, but if you wanted a monkey, you can go to the corner and put a quarter in the cup, and he can do whatever you want perfectly. All right. So this is the last poem that I wrote. I was on the phone tonight with a friend and ended up telling her 3 stories about my life. Right now, I want to share one of those stories with you. Sometimes God uses people as paintbrushes, colors, and canvas to create masterpieces to be hung and viewed from behind velvet ropes in continent-sized museums. Sometimes the story behind the masterpiece is the masterpiece. I tell my daughter all the time that she is a masterpiece born of love, that her mom and I wandered the vacuum of space as gases, light, and particles, that gravity pulled and pushed and big banged our separate celestial cells into an us. When I met my daughter's mother, I had just relocated to Boston from New Jersey. It was by chance I went to Seattle for my very first National Poetry Slam and met a Black man that, if Gabriel took refuge from God's angry eye, this angel hid in the voice of this Black man. I never heard a story like his and did not know Black men had such experiences. I was in awe. When I returned to New Jersey that week, I sat in a New Eureka Poets Cafe in New York with a fellow Magi, and we decided simultaneously that the magic of our order had little to offer us and decided the departure was imminent. He went to Europe. I followed the voice of Gabriel hiding from God's angry eye. And it was there in Boston where I met my daughter's mother. Our first night together, we stood under the moon in the fenced-in area where cherubs met in daylight. We exchanged futures like vows and decided we would not consummate the union for 90 days. She had a culinary degree, went to a school where she met and befriended one of my childhood best friends. I told her, I, since the age of 16, knew my way around the kitchen like I knew my play cousin that became her schoolmate. She had a 4-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. In those 3 months, we furiously battled with weapons of pizza, mac and cheese, fish, and fried chicken dinners, her daughter being the deciding factor each time. We spent 12 weeks, she, her daughter, and I, watching Harry Potter, The Lion King, and The Little Mermaid from a futon couch in White Bread, Massachusetts trailer park. I taught her daughter to dance to jazz. She would pull her 2-platform plastic step stool up to the bathroom mirror with her short brown twig-like preschool body next to my towering pajama-clad frame, and we would brush our teeth, seeing who could last the longest. Finally, the day came. After 3 months, we looked each other in the eye, forced our mouths to taste the secrets our tongues refused to betray, and broke the dark with moans, whispers to our Creator, and wishes to never leave Eden, masquerading as a singular curse word of fornication under consent of the king. It was not long after that we decided together to bring a new light into this universe. My daughter was no accident. She was no chance happening of irresponsible lust. My daughter was a decision, a mutual decision made between brushes, colors, and canvas to create a masterpiece to be hung in earth on walls of everyday life and viewed from behind a velvet rope for all to witness what love creates. She is a child conceived of love, in love. My daughter is love, and I love her with all of my heart. I love her with every stroke of every pen I ever inked words from. Her mother and I were just tools, and I could never create a masterpiece as beautiful as Asha. So that's it. I gave you, little snippets from when I first started to do poetry and slam all the way up to my last piece. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to playing with this last piece and working with it. And over the years, hopefully some of y'all will enjoy seeing me work with the last piece about my daughter. I do want to say, please, if you don't have to go outside, don't go outside. I love my daughter and she loves me. And just remember what I was saying earlier, how you can feel fine, but you can give it to somebody and somebody else can die. But again, I don't want to bring a downer to that piece. I think that was a beautiful poem. I actually like it a lot. So thank you. I'm done. I don't know what my time limit was. I was a little bit over 30 minutes. I apologize. Just like 31 minutes or 32 minutes.
It was perfect, Christopher. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for giving me an opportunity on my birthday to share my words, because I went to Facebook and asked people what they wanted, what could I do for them on my birthday. And a lot of them said, keep writing, share your words, share your poems, share your writing. And Wilberry stepped up and said, hey, Christopher, so thank you, Max and Josh and everyone over at Wilberry.
We got you, man. It's important stuff to hear, and we love your words. And you just have such a beautiful way of putting things. I mean, like, I'm a designer at heart, and I love the way you play with color. Like you were talking about, both literally and figuratively. You had a line earlier when you were talking about color blindness, that white reflects but black absorbs, and like,
yeah.
It's just a beautiful structure. For that message. And I think that...
You thank my mom for that. My mom sacrificed everything to put me and my 2 sisters in Catholic school. So I went to Catholic school every year but one. And I read, and Miss Haynes, my 4th grade teacher, my 4th grade English teacher, Miss Haynes, used to make me stay after school and write stories, because I would write stories. When you get done with your test and they tell you to put your pen down and stop writing, I would keep writing. I'd be writing stories on the back of the test. So I get the tension and I have to stay after school and write stories in the little box paper. So yeah, you can thank them for all of that, using the colors and the stuff.
I love that. I love that. It's a great story. And I love, oh my God, the story about Asha wanting like performance rights payments because of her conversation. That's so great.
Well, she knew what was going on because she knew I've been on stage her whole life. So when I came back from tour and I was taking her words, she's like, wait a minute.
Smart kid.
She knew.
Yeah, she's going to be your agent someday. You know, she's going to be your representation for sure.
Well, she actually has brokered a few deals.
There we go.
She's actually done that before, where I've been on the phone with somebody and she's walked in and I'm on the phone and I'm saying, okay, let's do this for X amount of dollars. And she'd be like, no. She has done that before.
That's awesome. Yeah,
she knows what's going on.
That's great. I love that.
But thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us, Christopher.
And I wanna everybody please support Wilbury. They have the link where you can support them. Just so that everybody knows, Wilbury Theater was the first people to actually take one of my plays and put it on its feet. And I've been writing plays ever since Wilbury did that. And so it's like, you like my work, you like to support me, please support Wilbury.
Thank you, man. We appreciate that very much. And if you like Christopher's work, you can support Christopher's work directly in addition to us. It's The Incredible. Do I have that right?
Oh, that's the PayPal. It's The Incredible, yes. But it's spelled THENCREDIBULL as in bull, as in May 6th, as in my birthday, as in Taurus.
Love that.
At gmail.com.
If you want to get in touch with Christopher and you want to support his work directly, please do. And thank you for supporting us tonight by coming out and watching us. And I think I won't sing you happy birthday, Christopher, because we don't want to scare away all of the people tuning in. But
thank you for not singing me happy birthday. I already have a condition that if I want some chocolate cake, I gotta have people sing happy birthday to me so I can get some chocolate cake. All right.
Well, go enjoy some cake yourself, sir, and we'll see you later.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Thanks, Christopher. Be good.